Welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic, Resources for Your Success. On today's show, we do not get to speak to one special guest. No, on today's show, you're going to hear from multiple special guests. Each of them have their own unique view of the single most important resource for your success. And when you listen to each one of them, there's a nugget in there. Maybe 2 or 3 nuggets. And by the end of the episode, it's going to become obvious what that most important resource is and how to best use it for you to be a huge success. Welcome to Season 3 of For the Love of Chiropractic. Season 1 has 60 episodes of practice management tips to help you build the best practice possible. Season 2, 3 keys of my success, 50 interviews with the most successful chiropractors from around the world. Season 3, resources for your success. So let's listen up and learn how to build a great business. Said in the introduction, today we'll be talking about specific resources for success from different experts. But before we start digging into that, I want to talk about these resources for success for a minute. Because resources for success are very left-brained. You know, it's didactic, it's absolute, it's procedural. It's almost like it's something I can go to the store and get and learn and then have. But if you've listened to any of the episodes in Season 1 or Season 2, what you know is the biggest resource is not what's in front of you, it's what's inside of you. Because what you're really trying to do is be the best version of you so that you can have the best practice possible, providing the best care for your patients so that your days in the office are great days, easy days, fun days, maybe challenging days. But all in all, at the end of the day, you get home and say, I had a great day in the office and I love being a chiropractor. So the first snippet that I want to play for you is one that I recorded talking about a great day in the office. And I think it really sets the tone for the other guests that we're going to be hearing from right after that. A great day in the office. And while immediately that brings certain things to mind, I want to spend some time focusing in on some very specific points. And what does that mean, a great day in the office? You know, maybe it means that the staff gets there on time. Everybody shows up on time, ready to start their day. Maybe it means in your interactions with the staff before the day even really starts, you notice that everybody's in a good mood. There's this feeling of positive energy in the office. It just feels like it's going to work. And then you notice that it's a good schedule. You know, the load of the patients, the timing, the scheduling, maybe even who's coming in. You know, it's patients you really enjoy helping, seeing, and working with, and it's scheduled correctly. There's no heavy times or minimal heavy times. It's nice, smooth, even flow, time you need to help each of the patients the way that you want to help them. And as you're walking through the office, you notice that the physical office, the office itself, is ready for a great day. It feels clean. It feels fresh. You know, maybe there are fresh flowers on the front desk. The music is set to the volume you like it, the station or the playlist that you want to be listening to help create that positive energy because it sets a certain tone. And then as the staff comes together, if you do a pre-shift meeting, we call that a pre-shift huddle, you know, again, the staff is happy to be together. There's laughing. There's just a happiness of what's going on, the way people feel, the way they're interacting. There's some light joking around and banter with each other. It all works. It feels good. And then after that pre-shift huddle, as things settle in, you've done the once round in the office again and things look really good, then the patients start to roll in, on time, happy to be there. And as you're speaking with the patients, you realize they're very happy with the care that they've received up to this point. You know you can help them even more today, moving their progress forward even more to be a better, healthier version of themselves, and they're thrilled that you're so involved and care about them. And as you see each one of the patients, hearing that they're thrilled with their care, giving them your best, the adjustment, the advice, the stretching, home exercises, whatever it may be, and you move from room to room, again, you're happy to see the next patient, thrilled that you get to step up and be the doctor and do the things that we do. You're in the flow. Things are moving and flowing exactly the way that you would hope and want them to. So here's the question. How do we make more days feel like that day? How do we make more days be the greatest days in the office? And I think that's a really good question. So to begin answering that question about making more days great days in the office, I went back and grabbed a clip from one of my first mentors, Dr. Larry Markson. And here's what he had to say.
So there are many outstanding chiropractors. You still practice. You don't need to practice, but you still do because we love it. And that love of chiropractic, what we do, and the ability to trust the human body to heal itself if the nervous system's working is still valid. And there are many, many very successful chiropractors.
Larry then went on to talk about his son, Rick Markson, who has a very successful practice. Let's hear what he has to say about Rick Markson's practice and why that practice is still so successful.
My son, who has a huge chiropractic practice, doesn't do anything except let people know he cares, lets people know what chiropractic is as he's adjusting them. I go in all the time. I hear him talking chiropractic like you and I did, right? And they see 250 people a day. Well, not him alone, but, he and his chiropractic team. So, but it's spoken about all the time. So patients leave with the understanding of what chiropractic is, so they can send that to other people and bring it. Why should they bring in a whole family?
So Larry, that's a great question. Why should they bring the whole family in for care? And does it matter the exact care that they're getting, whether it's modalities and decompression or just hands-on adjusting? What do you think about that? And what is it that's at the root of great chiropractic care?
I do know that chiropractic will not die. It's too valid. We may be substituted. So I came from a seminar this weekend that people would adjust each other with technology, not even with the hands. So I think it's and then there's decompression units. So I came from a chiropractic office visitation just yesterday that I popped into an office of someone I know, and there's every known modality in the world, decompression units and knee decompression and pro adjusters and all good stuff. I'm not saying it's not good, but there's no philosophy hanging out. So the philosophy of chiropractic and people understanding that the body can heal itself and on an ongoing basis. So the chiropractor's job is to find, locate, and remove nerve interference without the modalities. And if you need the modalities, I don't have any problem with that. But I certainly want to see chiropractic remain as something that's adjusting the spinal column. That's who we are, that's who we were, and that's how they should be.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Larry Markson, for those words. And like so many great chiropractic coaches and mentors, they all have a very clear path of what needs to be done, what you need to have, and how you can build that. So our next guest we're going to hear from is another dear friend and mentor, Dr. Noel Lloyd, talking about launching a successful practice.
Still in touch with, but very, very successful. He just launched his 8th clinic, and when they opened the doors, they had 120 new patients already booked for that clinic. So when they opened the doors on a Monday morning, let's say, and I don't know that it was Monday, but I assume that it was, they had already done all of their homework and their marketing work to put people in. And these were trained associates who knew how to help people have fun and be very, very successful. And so they had a mature practice of 200 plus regular paid visits in the fourth week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I think the biggest or fastest practice start that I was ever involved in my own clinics was we put 161 new patients in the door in one 31-day period. And we were at 206 visits, paid visits, really, really good patients in the 7th week open. And so if somebody does it correctly, they can have a super, super profitable, wonderfully successful practice, giving great chiropractic care in a matter of weeks. But that's, as you know, that's not what usually happens.
Sadly, Dr. Noel Lloyd is correct. That's not usually what happens. Practices rarely start off so incredibly successful. But why not? Well, there was a key in what Noel said, if you were listening closely. He said, if the doctor does it correctly. So what does that mean? What has to be done correctly? And for the answer to that question, we're going to listen to what Dr. Chuck Gibson had to say about the things that the most successful doctors have, or rather the 3 ingredients the unsuccessful doctors don't have that need to be taught, learned, and cultivated for them to become a huge success also.
You asked me the question about why do chiropractors, what challenge do they have? Well, first of all, lack of experience is one, lack of training, but you can get that in a good chiropractic office. Number 2 is low self-esteem or low self-confidence. You cannot have a person have confidence in you if you don't have confidence in yourself. And we communicate our attitudes by our body language, our vocal tones, the things we say, the things we don't say, and our very presence. So a person with a low self-esteem has a very difficult time practicing. Okay, and so that's one. Another one is poor chiropractic philosophy. I've seen a lot of chiropractors succeed based on ambition alone. But most of them burn out in their mid-40s if they're successful, and they start looking for another game to play. Those that are motivated by the chiropractic philosophy never get tired of being a chiropractor. They just love to do it.
Okay, so experience and training, I get that. That comes from working with a very successful office or a very successful practice manager and coach. And then when you talk about a poor chiropractic philosophy, well, maybe you have to go learn that. Maybe you need to spend some time talking to other doctors who have a better understanding of what chiropractic really is and how it really works. Maybe it's about reading some of the newer research that proves that what the Palmers were talking about 100 plus years ago really is what's going on. Because what I know is the chiropractors that do have the biggest and best chiropractic philosophies have become some of the most successful chiropractors in the world, having the greatest practices and really doing very well for themselves, for the community, and for all of humanity. But if self-esteem is your problem, then what do you do about that? How do you build your self-esteem? And for the answer to that question, we turn to Dr. Danny Drubrin.
Creating goals. Because I've always been a goal-driven person, and I've always encouraged people to write some goals, read your goals on a regular basis, do your affirmations, because only growing and dynamic people have the opportunity to build growing and dynamic businesses or practices or lives.
All right, that's fair.
And so it starts to become a matter of how hard I always tell people, work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. And I still believe the most important success book ever written is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read it every year. And people say, well, why would you read the same book every year? Because the book doesn't change, but the person always does. And how we process information has a lot to do with the quality of our lives.
The quality of our lives. I learned a long time ago, and one of the things that I continue to teach people is ultimately it is your job to continually build yourself up in strong and noble thought, because the world is more than happy to try and tear you down. Tony Robbins goes on to talk about that you are the gatekeeper of your own mind, because if you are not the gatekeeper, all sorts of other things are going to come in and start to interfere with how you're thinking, what you're thinking, and then ultimately your own performance. But when you open your mind up and truly look at and know the things that you need to know, are willing to learn new things and things that you need to learn, you get to be an amazing doctor having an incredible impact with fantastic stories after a lifetime of a long, wonderful career, like Dr. Lester Yoos shares about his decades of experience.
I was called to a town 25 miles from Grayville. And of course, when I take care of people, I expect them, I'm their doctor. And this elderly lady, they called me, and I got there and she was passed out and she'd had a stroke, in my opinion. And I grabbed her neck and I gave her a severe adjustment. She opened her eyes and said, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So we sent her to the hospital. And so she told her doctor, she said, now she told him what happened. Of course, he didn't believe it.
No.
And when he got ready to relieve her, she said, now I want you to send me to Grayville to have a nursing home there, because that's where my chiropractor lives, because he's going to come and see me. And she didn't think it was he didn't think it was very funny. So anyway, they sent her to this nursing home, and I got up there and they met me at the front desk. And they said, you have to write out a report here. Her medical doctor said that I had to give him a written report, what I thought was wrong, what I did, and why I did it, and what medication, blah, 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 about 30 minutes of stuff. I stood there a little bit, and I said, I'd like to see the medical doctor's report. What do you mean? I said, when I see his report, I'll give you mine, and we'll go to work from there.
Nice.
I just walked back into the patient's room and adjusted her. Mm-hmm. And so the next time I came up to they said, well, you haven't given that written report. I said, whenever I see the MD's report, I'll give you mine. So that was the end of that.
Frankly, it's so important to stand up for yourself.
Well, if you know you're 100% right, mm-hmm. I got no problem with saying that. And when in my opinion, I was right, because what she needed was an adjustment, mm-hmm. and he didn't need no written, and he wouldn't give me his report, so I wasn't going to give him mine.
No, I agree with you completely. Yeah, absolutely. I had a similar thing, it was maybe 15, 20 years ago now, where I'm on the phone with the chief of neurology at one of the local hospitals. We disagreed about what was wrong with a patient, and he thought the patient had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And I said, I've examined this person. I said, all I find is a subluxation at L5. And the neurologist said, I think it's best that you don't touch this person. I did a report of findings with the patient, told him what I thought, told him what the neurologist had said. And the patient said to me, well, it seems like, Doc, if you're right, I'll be fine. And if you're wrong, there's no harm. I said, well, yeah. And needless to say, that person went from a wheelchair back to walking again.
Sure. Well, one time I hadn't been in practice very long, and a couple came. Her husband was a patient, and they had a young boy, 6 years old, had terrible asthma and terrible rash all over his body.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling him, I said, bring that boy into me. Oh, no, you'll hurt him. I said, no, I won't. Anyway, the medical doctor gave them a certain drug,
Mm-hmm.
and the boy's fever went to 104.
Oof.
They couldn't get it down, had rash all over him, broke out all over him. And finally, after that, they called me in the middle of the night, and I went down there, and his fever was 104, and I adjusted him. Within 30 minutes, it was back down,
Uh-huh.
and I stayed all night with the patient and till the next morning, and I didn't have to explain to them anymore from then on. And that boy growed up to be a strong weightlifter.
Mm-hmm. That boy
Yeah.
should have grown up to be a chiropractor.
That's right.
Now, I'm not saying that you should step up in practice and do some of the things the way that Dr. Yoos did them in his day, treating people the way that he did. Except he did say, when somebody's my patient, I'm their doctor. And I want the absolute best for them. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that they get the best of exactly what they need. And while that may not have been his exact words, you could hear that that's exactly what he meant. So when we talk about resources for success, the most important resource for your success really is you. Sure, there's knowledge to gain and garnish from other experts in other areas, other guests that we have had and will continue to have on the show. But you and what's inside of you is your biggest resource for success. So on behalf of myself, Dr. Lester Yoos, Dr. Larry Markson, Dr. Noel Lloyd, Dr. Chuck Gibson, and Dr. Janie Drubrin, I want to thank you for listening to this episode, taking this information, and becoming the biggest success that you know you can be and deserve to be. All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at theloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.